So I went to Home Depot and I was asking them, hey, I need help drawing a circle. And they took me to where the compasses were and everything. And they said, yeah, this is what we have. And they said, well, I said, I need a 4-foot diameter. Oh, no, no, no. There's, you have to get a computer and all that stuff like that. I slept on it. And, when I was in survival school, they taught us a way to make a clock, a sun clock in the ground. And so what they said is take a straight edge from your wreckage or something that's as straight as possible, and you measure out the 2.5 feet, which my diameter is only 2 feet, but the logic still matches. And it said, poke a hole through the center point and get it as firm as you can, and then measure your distance out as best as you can. And what will happen is you put a stick in that other hole and you drag it around until you make your sundial. Well, all that aside, that's how I did my 4-foot circle. So what I did was I took a piece of leftover screen frame and I measured out 2 feet. Well, first I measured the center point of the circle by doing the angles and all that stuff like that, and drilled a hole in the middle because I'm gonna also have a 1-foot center hole down the middle for the light bar, which I'm gonna end up cutting the same way. And took the other end of it and drilled a hole in it the size of the tip of a Sharpie, and went around until I got a nice equilateral triangle, a circle that obviously hit the same spot everywhere. And so put that in your pipe and smoke at Home Depot. So whether or not I have a steady enough hand to cut it is going to be a totally different story. But the 4-foot, even though the plans call for a 4-foot, it looks really small to me, but I'm gonna have faith. And worst comes to worst, I can use this circle as the stepping stone for making a 5 or a 6-foot circle. But since I can't get wood that's a equal triangle in the size that I need, that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, I'll have to make it in arc pieces, and that'll be cuts at a time. But that being said, there we go. So my next step is to do the inner circle. Then once I get that measured and done on this one, then I'll do the other one, and then I'll start doing the hard cuts, the outside cuts, and then I'm going to slowly start whittling down. I'm not going to go right to it because I'd like to try to get as close to the outside as possible, and then maybe sand it down from there with the sander to try to make it as equal as possible. So I was able to draw a really good circle with a leftover piece of screen material and a screw and a Sharpie. So the hard part was getting the hole just the right size of the Sharpie tip, because you didn't want it to kind of like flop around. So and of course I had to take passes at it so the line didn't look as floppy. It didn't do it very badly at all. And that's a pretty close tolerance for the edges, which I was afraid of. But who knows? Maybe the $300-400 for the cut that they wanted me to do, I won't need to do for my purpose. So anyway, thank you so much for watching me work on my rotary garden. And I'll do another post when I have that done, and the center cut. And remember, emotions are gifts you give yourself, and nobody can give it and take it away from you. And always remember, if somebody tells you no and you really want to do something, when in doubt, work it out and just try something. Just, and I found it in the weirdest spot of having gone through survival training school. So there. Alright, thanks. Bye.